There are many prisons around the world that are said to be haunted by the ghosts of prisoners and staff members, each one having their own stories. But there is one that is considered to be one of the most haunted prison sites in the world, the Eastern State Penitentiary. Greetings everyone, my name is Rojo the Demon Wolf, and welcome to a little series that I thought would be interesting to do, Haunted Areas. One of my fascinations when it comes to real life horror stuff are places around the world with their own ghost stories and urban legends that make it haunting. I figured, why not make this into a series where I talk about my favorite haunted areas and why it makes them scary. For the first episode, we'll talk about a prison that is said to be the most haunted prison site in the United States, maybe even the whole world. First opened in 1829 in Philadelphia, this prison was made to hold over 250 prisoners, each confined in their own solitary confinement cell for their entire sentence. These cells were meant to help criminals find remorse and salvation, when in reality, it drove them mad. Each cell had a toilet, running water, heat, a Bible, and a small hole for light to be let in. This was known to prisoners as God's light. Although executions were never carried in the prison, death still lingers all over the place. Murdered, tortured, and even from natural causes such as old age or disease. Solitary confinement even plays with the minds of history's most notorious criminals. For example, Al Capone, a Chicago gangster who served 8 months for carrying a concealed deadly weapon. Although his cell was said to have been decorated nicely, Al complained that he was haunted by the spirit of James Clark, a victim of the St. Valentine's Day massacre in Chicago. There were rules in the prison that inmates were required to follow. There was to be no talking, singing, or even humming. They weren't even allowed to communicate with other inmates, not even with taps or knocks in Morse code. The inmates were to be completely silent. They were also required to silently pray before eating and sleeping. Whenever they go outside of their cells when they're released, guards will make their inmates wear masks to hide their face from other inmates and make them walk the line of shame. If any of these rules were to be broken, punishment will soon follow. In 1884, Charles Dickens visited the prison and was appalled by the conditions of the inmates. He described it as being buried alive and wrote about the psychological torture the inmates had to endure. During the 1920s and 30s, the solitary confinement cell system collapsed due to overcrowding and were changed to 2 to 3 person cells, turning the place into a congregated prison during the reign of one of the most famous figures in the penitentiary, Warden Herbert Hardboiled Smith. He ruled the prison with an iron fist and carried out fierce reform tactics. He came up with various torture methods to inmates that break the rules. This includes the water bath, where inmates will be dunked in a bath of ice-cold water and then hung on the wall for the night. This was mostly used during the winter season, to which inmates were most likely frozen to death. And the mad chair, where inmates were strapped tightly to a chair, restricting any and all movements for days. During this method, most inmates were dead on the chair due to starvation. Many inmates, including 2 guards, were murdered over the years of the prison's establishment. On April 3, 1945, a major escape took place that was carried out by 12 inmates. In that year, they dug a tunnel, undiscovered, that extended 97 feet deep under the prison wall. During the prison's renovation, it showed that another 30 incomplete tunnels were discovered to have been made in the 1930s. Clearly, it showed other inmates conducted the same attempt to escape, but with no success. Since the prison closed down in 1970, leading the prison to become a historic tourist destination, many visitors have reported seeing ghosts, such as the ghost of Joseph Taylor, an inmate who murdered an officer named Michael Dorn, who only opened the door to Taylor's exercise yard and was strangled by a piece of his sewing equipment, and quietly went back to his cell to, quote, get some rest. A famous ghost story of the prison happened to a locksmith. Working on restoration of the place, he goes to work in cell block 4, which was locked. After trying to remove the 140-year-old lock with success, the door opened, and he explained being hit by a massive force overcoming him. Unable to move, he saw the faces of spirits that were locked in that cell appearing on the walls and swirled toward him before escaping the cell. He mentioned that it was like opening the gates of hell, and all the souls trapped there were rushing to escape after seeing the door was opened. To this day, the prison has been remade as a museum, using the place to give tours around the prison, and during the month of October, becomes one of the scariest Halloween activities in Pennsylvania, called Terror Behind the Walls. Well, actually they now renamed it as Halloween Nights. I kinda like the other title better though. Many paranormal investigators, including the crew from Ghost Adventures, claim the penitentiary to be one of the most haunted places in the United States, maybe even the entire world. but we have many other haunted places to go through that could be up to the challenge. If you have any other places you want me to touch on, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to see more videos like this, leave a like and comment about what haunted area you want me to talk about. Subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to know when more videos of mine come out. As always, keep your fears and anxiety levels high. I'll see you very soon.